from Simon Jordan there saying that it should have happened a long time ago. Just as we've been live, there's been some breaking news and a statement has been released from Sporting, and it says as follows. They've issued this statement: Manchester United have registered an interest in hiring Ruben Amorim and paying his 10 million release clause. And there's a bit of a statement that they've put out there basically saying that Man United registered their interest. They want to buy him. They want to take him from there and bring him to Manchester United. So it looks like it's a matter of time. It really, really does. With this, we're going to bring you updates, of course, as we get them. It's an ever-changing situation. And there's going to be statements coming out. Yeah, that is breaking all over X at the moment. Fabrizio Romano has just confirmed that as well. Sporting confirmed formal communication received from Manchester United for Ruben Amorim to be appointed. Amorim has already said yes to Man United proposal and project. So he's pretty much the new manager of Manchester United. They are just sorting out the formalities of the price. Where am I at? Where am I at with it? How do I feel? I feel relieved that Ten Hag's not here anymore. I appreciate the fact he won us 2 trophies. Now it's all said and done. It is, as a fan, in your memories, what you remember forever is cup finals. Less so the Carabao Cup final, I understand that, but it was a good day out and at the time was good. But an FA Cup does carry weight, and with who it was against Manchester City at Wembley, I will always remember that day at Wembley, 100%. So thank you for that. But
isn't that the minimum though? Like, if you're like Manchester United fans, they shouldn't be the kind of memories that you're cherishing. You should be cherishing memories of winning European Cups and winning the league, and
absolutely.
You're miles off that.
Well, that's what I was just about to get onto.
Yeah.
I'm happy for the day out at Wembley, but for the cast off of for the trade off of being 8th in the league,
no chance.
For the trade off of being 14th currently now, no. For the trade off of 1 win in 11 in Europe, and we haven't won a game in 1 year in Europe. For the trade off of 1 and 8 now in all comps, no. So thank you for the trophies, Erik. I really do appreciate that. And on a personal, was always polite to me, always nice and any interactions with him, but just simply wasn't good enough. And this should have happened. I agree with Simon. Now, in hindsight, now I look at where I was at. This should have happened a long time ago.
I said to you in July,
you did.
Flex, you are dreaming. If you think this is going to work out, he's going to be gone by Christmas. There's nothing to be seen there that makes me think that this is going to work. They've delayed the inevitable. Ineos, you've called it a big L. I would completely agree with that, because it's the first real big footballing decision they've had to make, and they've dithered, they've dallied, and they've made a complete mess of it. And it's almost embarrassing that it's got to nearly November for this to happen, and it's just made them look like they don't really know what they're doing, because they cleaned all the other football departments out. They even added coaches, signed players.
Well, he was the last one.
Everything above Ten Hag in the footballing departments, everything's changed there. And then they left the man who's responsible for what happens on the pitch, and he showed himself last season that he wasn't capable of handling it.
No.
And the fact that he stayed just because they won that FA Cup final, because Ten Hag had shown in individual cup ties and one-off matches he could conduct a game plan. Yeah, he could. Some managers are just like that, aren't they? And he did show that last season, but he hasn't shown anything for well over a year that shows that Manchester United are heading in the right direction in the league. And he leaves them probably now, I would say, are they in a worse place than they were when he took over now, given the outlay?
I'd say they're about par. Not much in it. Probably just about worse.
They spent 600 million to not move forward.
Definitely worse in terms of that, and better in terms of trophies, because we didn't get any under Ollie. But a Carabao Cup and an FA Cup, like you say, at Manchester United. Some people are choosing to be glass half full and be like, in our worst ever period when we're an awful team, we can still get a couple of trophies. Some teams in their best moments don't get any, so that shows that that's good. But like you said, the level of Man United, no. I do think trying to understand Ineos' thinking, I have been trying to do that, and I'm like, I have seen reports and facts that the whole team wasn't assembled yet. So you have Omar Barada and Dan Ashworth through the decision making and that period, they weren't able to start their jobs yet, and these are the guys that they've brought in who are going to oversee this. So you've got Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Dave Brailsford and Jean-Claude Blanc from Ineos who have come in and obviously obtained this amount of the club, but the people that they need who are actually going to be making the football decisions, because it's not, Sir Jim Ratcliffe is just part owner. Yeah, the professionals weren't actually there at the time when all this was going on. So one of the sort of stories I was told was that they were looking at it because they kind of knew that this isn't great, but the people that we're employing, i.e. Omar Barada and Dan Ashworth, because we can't get him out of Newcastle yet, we've got to assemble this team. They wasn't in situ to actually make that decision. So they had to, they carried on, and then they came in at the end of that. And then after that, now that's why this has happened so quickly, because once they have been with their feet under the table and can actually do the due diligence they need to do as a decision maker. So it isn't just someone buying the football club like Sir Jim Ratcliffe and going, I'm just doing everything. He's like, no, I'm bringing in the people who are way more qualified to make these type of decisions than me. And once they have got their feet under the table, then they've started making decisions. That was one theory that was put to me, that the decision makers who have made this decision now weren't actually there in the summer.
But that's fine. But, you know, we know from what happened in the summer that they weren't sure about him, which is fine. But don't give him another year on his contract. Were they trying to just put out some kind of positive message? That felt more like a PR decision than a footballing decision. That's not how it should work.
It's not. But what that actually did do was make sure because they kept him and want to give him a little bit.
It was like trying to give him the bare minimum backing. The bare minimum backing you could give him. It's like a 50-50.
We'll, as long as we don't have to give you a new contract with new security or 3-4 year extension, we'll put out a positive, piece to say we back you and give you a bit more money and see how it goes.
But they must have had to have paid an extra year off on his contract. Now they must have had to. That's how it works. Like he's now got 1 year. He's now got 2 years left instead of one.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to pay him more than they would have had to pay him, which costs money. They're going through cost-cutting exercises at the moment. They're going to have to pay for Amorim as well. I still think, you know, if you're going to go for Amorim now, you could have gone for him in the summer. So this dialogue that there wasn't a manager available, I don't believe that if they can get him now, that they couldn't have got him in the summer. So all around, when in the middle of doing all these cost-cutting exercises, which hasn't been the best PR in the world for Manchester United, although I'll reserve judgment on it because they've obviously got their reasons for doing it. But to do those cost-cutting exercises, and now because you've dithered, have to pay all that extra money to let go of Ten Hag and bring in a new manager. That again doesn't smack of a kind of an organisation that knows what they're doing.
They've got off to a good start by saying, we're going to clear out that football department that was so bad in making, you know, all these decisions. So, and they were very quick with that. They made a good decision saying, we want Dan Ashworth. Newcastle want like 20 million. You're not getting that. We'll wait it out. We'll get the guy we actually want. They made a good decision in getting Omar Barada out of City. No leaks, just happened. So they started off on a good foot. They made a good decision by pumping in money into the training ground straight away and getting the task force to look at the new stadium. Fine. Yeah. But then, and this is why I have no problems putting my hands up and saying, when it came, like you said, to the playing side of it, the manager, they've made a decision to stick with him, and that hasn't worked. That was the wrong decision.
I'm actually not having to go at Ineos here. I'm having to go at the people that they've employed on the football side. You can say that like they weren't
the people who made this decision.
They were there in place in the summer to say we're going to give him a new 1 year contract, which is going to mean that we're going to have to pay him out X amount of money more if he leaves.
It was wrong.
So everything they've done now so far, football decision, has cost the club more money. It's embarrassed the club. They've let it run into November when they probably into the end of October, and they shouldn't have done it because it was clear it was inevitable that this would always happen. So if I was you now, I'm now looking at those people that are in those high profile football positions at Manchester United and thinking, I'm not sure about these people.
Yeah, and that's the bit. I mean, and not every Man United fan will feel like that. A lot of Man United fans do feel that I spoke to are saying, look, they made a decision that they thought that this guy would be the right guy. A lot of Man United fans, wrongly, but at the time, we're like, we just won this FA Cup. Give him a chance in a new structure. No manager's had a new structure here. Give him a chance. Let's see if he can. A lot of people were behind that theory. So the backlash to Ineos, I'm not going to pretend is super high across the Man United fan base. I'm not saying it doesn't exist.
I'm not having to go at them. I'm having to go at the football people.
Or even the football people. There's a lot of people that are still like, listen, they've made a mistake. They've corrected it now. We're a few months off. Let's see what they do now, and we'll have to wait and see what happens there.